We need bullies. That's how Trump became president. That's exactly what happened. We got rid of bullies, a real bully showed up, and nobody knew how to handle it. The cast of The Apprentice is running the world. Trump, the daughter, Omarosa. Trump might work out. I mean, think about it this way. Bush was so bad, he gave us Obama. You forget that, don't you?
Trump just had a complete meltdown after Chris Rock's comedy set went viral for exposing the truth about JD Vance. I've never seen him this rattled over jokes before, and I've been covering his tantrums for years. In the next 10 minutes, I'll show you exactly what Rock said that hit so close to home, why Vance's fake working class act is crumbling, and the 3 specific comments that sent Trump into rage mode. The third one explains everything about their relationship that Trump never wanted you to know. Hey, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. We know you want to. Go ahead, we'll wait. Alright, appreciate it. Now, back to the video. Did you catch Chris Rock's stand-up special last week? Oh man, it was absolutely brutal. The comedian went after Trump and JD Vance with the kind of raw, unfiltered takedown that only Rock can deliver. What started as a typical comedy set quickly turned into a political roasting session that left social media in flames and Trump scrambling for a response.
A new message on the impact of Trump's presidency from a political expert. Comedian Chris Rock in his new special talks about bullies, and he makes the argument that while bullying is bad,
Bush was so bad, he gave us Obama. You forget that, don't you? Bush was so bad that people said, hey, maybe this black guy has the answer. Bush is a black revolutionary. Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, George Bush.
Rock didn't just poke fun at these guys, he surgically dismantled them with precision jokes that landed like tactical strikes. With his trademark wide-eyed intensity, Rock zeroed in on Trump and Vance in a way that caught everyone off guard. Even for a comedian who's built his career on saying the uncomfortable truth, this routine pushed boundaries in all the right ways. Trump picked JD Vance as his running mate, you know, the Harvard hillbilly, Rock said to an erupting audience. This guy's out here pretending he knows what it's like to struggle while his Silicon Valley buddies write him million-dollar checks. That's like me claiming I grew up in the projects while I'm cashing Netflix specials. What made Rock's routine so devastating wasn't just that it was funny, it was the uncomfortable truth behind each punchline. When Rock mocked Vance's convenient political transformation, saying he went from calling Trump America's Hitler to being his lapdog faster than you can say book deal, the audience didn't just laugh, they winced, because everyone knew it wasn't just a joke, it was a fact dressed up as comedy. Rock didn't stop there. He tore into Vance's carefully crafted image with a precision that political commentators have been trying to achieve for months. JD Vance wrote a whole book about growing up poor, then got rich, then decided poor people are lazy. That's like me writing a special about being black and then deciding racism isn't real because I got some money. The audience went wild as Rock nailed the fundamental contradiction in Vance's political persona. The most devastating part of Rock's set was his delivery, that signature machine gun style that doesn't give the audience or the targets a moment to recover. Trump found the perfect running mate in Vance, Rock continued. Two rich guys pretending they're not rich, telling working people they understand their problems. That's like me and Kevin Hart telling tall people we understand their struggles. While political pundits have been pointing out Vance's flip-flopping for months, somehow Rock managed to distill it into a 15-minute comedy bit that resonated more than hours of cable news coverage. Within hours, clips of his routine were everywhere. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, reaching millions of people who normally tune out political coverage altogether. The reaction was immediate and massive. Young voters who might never watch a campaign speech were suddenly sharing clips and discussing the very contradictions Rock highlighted. Even Republican-leaning comedy fans couldn't help but acknowledge the accuracy behind the jokes. And that's what makes comedy so powerful as a political tool. It bypasses our defenses and delivers truth while we're busy laughing. But there was one joke in particular that apparently set Trump off like nothing else. According to insiders, when Rock said Trump picked Vance because when he looks at JD, he sees what he wishes his sons were. Someone who can pretend to be self-made instead of just admitting daddy gave him everything. Trump reportedly threw his phone across the room. The beauty of Rock's takedown was how it folded multiple criticisms into single punchlines. In one breath, he managed to skewer Trump's relationship with his sons, Vance's questionable origin story, and the fundamental dishonesty at the heart of their political partnership, all while making the audience laugh so hard they almost missed how deep the critique actually went.
For Democrats depressed about Trump, Rock also has a theory. He's building on something the New York Times observed right when Obama was first inaugurated.
Trump might work out. Yeah, I said it. Trump might work out. I mean, think about it this way.
That his popularity came partly from, quote, early opposition to the Iraq War and public disenchantment with the Bush era.
I think people overlook George Bush's contributions to black history.
You know what's funny about Vance? Rock asked the crowd. He spent years telling everyone Trump was dangerous for America. Then the minute Trump offered him a job, suddenly Trump's his hero. I've seen more dignity in contestants on The Apprentice begging not to get fired. The audience roared as Rock nailed the transparent opportunism that defines Vance's political career. What's most fascinating about this whole saga is how quickly Rock's comedy routine became a genuine political problem for the Trump campaign. Their communications team went into overdrive trying to contain the damage, but they faced an impossible challenge. How do you fight back against jokes that are rooted in uncomfortable truths? While Trump's team was busy doing damage control, the real story behind JD Vance was just beginning to unravel. Behind the flannel shirts and folksy talk hides a man worth over $10 million who spent years in the elite circles he now pretends to fight against. No wonder Rock's jokes landed so perfectly. They weren't just comedy, they were exposing a political makeover that would make even the best Hollywood stylists jealous. Let's be honest about what's going on here. JD Vance built his entire public image on that book Hillbilly Elegy, where he tells this heart-wrenching story about growing up poor in Appalachia with a mom struggling with addiction and how he pulled himself up by his bootstraps. It's the perfect American success story, except for the part where he conveniently forgets to mention what happened after he got famous. The transformation is almost comical. Vance went from writing about the struggles of working-class Americans to becoming the poster boy for Silicon Valley venture capitalism. This guy, who once wrote about understanding the pain of forgotten Americans, was taking meetings with tech billionaires and hanging out at exclusive parties where the price of admission was probably more than his grandma's house was worth. And who was bankrolling his fancy new life? None other than Peter Thiel, the billionaire tech investor who pumped millions into turning Vance from author to politician. Thiel didn't just give him a job, he basically created the political version of Vance we see today, funding his Senate run with a cool $15 million. That's some expensive hillbilly makeover. What's really wild is how quickly Vance changed his tune about Trump once power was on the table. This is a guy who privately messaged friends calling Trump America's Hitler and publicly said Trump was cultural heroin, basically a dangerous drug that makes people feel good while destroying them. Yet somehow, when it came time to run for office, Vance had a miraculous change of heart. Suddenly, Trump was the greatest thing since sliced bread. The flip-flop is so extreme that it's almost impressive. In 2016, Vance was telling everyone who would listen that Trump's policies were immoral and reprehensible. Fast forward a few years and he's nodding along to everything Trump says like one of those dashboard bobbleheads. The only thing that changed, Vance needed Trump's endorsement to win his Senate race. What's especially funny is that Vance still tries to play this populist card, railing against the coastal elites when he literally became one. This is a Yale law graduate who made millions in Silicon Valley before deciding to rebrand himself as a champion of the working class. He criticizes the wealthy while being worth somewhere between $4.3 million and $10.5 million, according to his financial disclosures. Talk about having your cake and eating it too. His book paints this picture of a scrappy kid who made it against all odds. And sure, going from a tough childhood to Yale law is impressive. But what he doesn't mention is how quickly he abandoned those values when the big money came calling. The same guy who wrote about understanding working class struggles now pushes policies that benefit his wealthy donors way more than the people back in Ohio he claims to represent. Remember how Vance used to criticize corporations for not paying their fair share? Now he's supporting tax cuts for the ultra-wealthy. He used to talk about the importance of government programs that helped his family survive tough times, but now he votes against expanding those very same programs. It's almost like his entire belief system changed once he started hanging out with billionaires. Weird coincidence, right? The gap between Vance's carefully crafted image and reality is so wide that even some of Trump's most loyal supporters are starting to raise eyebrows. They signed up for a working-class hero, not a Silicon Valley millionaire playing dress-up in flannel. When your own base starts questioning your authenticity, you know you've got a problem. That's why Rock's comedy routine hit so hard. It wasn't just funny, it exposed the painful truth that Vance is essentially playing a character. He's like an actor who studied rural America for a role, but forgot to take off the costume when the cameras stopped rolling. The difference is that most actors don't ask for your vote afterward. The costume Vance never took off wasn't the only performance unraveling that night. While most politicians laugh off comedian roasts, Trump's middle-of-the-night meltdown revealed a surprising vulnerability. What is it about Rock's takedown that triggered such an explosive reaction from a man who supposedly thrives on conflict? For decades, comedians have poked fun at Trump, from Saturday Night Live to late-night talk shows, and he's usually responded with predictable bluster. But something about Rock's routine hit different. Initially, Trump's team tried the classic political move, pretend it never happened. They avoided all questions about the viral comedy clips, hoping the news cycle would quickly move on to something else. Senior campaign advisor Jason Miller even told reporters, "We're focused on issues that matter to Americans, not comedy routines." That strategy lasted approximately 48 hours. By the third day, Trump abandoned the ignore it approach and went into full meltdown mode. White House sources revealed he was up at 3 a.m., furiously posting on Truth Social. "Just watched another unfunny so-called comedian spreading fake news about my amazing VP pick," Trump wrote. "These Hollywood losers are terrified of our movement." He followed with 6 more posts before sunrise, each one angrier than the last. What really set Trump off wasn't just being the butt of jokes, it was the awkward spotlight Rock shined on his relationship with Vance. According to 3 staffers who spoke anonymously to the Washington Post, Trump had been privately annoyed by Vance's weak response to the comedy special. He expected his VP to hit back harder, one source explained. Instead, Vance just mumbled something about coastal elites and disappeared for 3 days. In closed-door meetings, Trump reportedly called Vance ungrateful and questioned whether he had the killer instinct needed for the campaign. "I put this guy on the map, and he can't even defend me properly," Trump complained, according to one attendee who requested anonymity. The tension became so noticeable that senior advisors had to schedule separate media appearances to avoid uncomfortable questions about their dynamic. Trump's public reaction followed his classic playbook for dealing with criticism: attack the messenger and change the subject. "Chris Rock used to beg to attend my events. Sad to see what Hollywood does to people," he posted, though no evidence exists of Rock ever requesting to attend Trump rallies. When a reporter asked about this claim, Trump doubled down. "Many comedians, the best comedians, have called me. They all want tickets to my rallies. They're the biggest shows on earth, bigger than any comedy special." Meanwhile, Trump's team scrambled to control the narrative. Campaign manager Susie Wiles immediately booked Trump on 3 friendly outlets: Newsmax, One America News, and a podcast hosted by a former MMA fighter turned political commentator. The instructions to these hosts were clear: no questions about Chris Rock, no mention of the viral clips, and absolutely no jokes about Vance. Damage control efforts couldn't contain the story. Even on Fox News, usually a safe space for Trump, host Maria Bartiromo awkwardly referenced "that comedy special everyone's talking about." Trump's response was telling. He immediately changed the subject to border security while visibly tensing up. The clip of this moment created a second wave of viral content. Perhaps the most revealing aspect of Trump's reaction wasn't what he said publicly, but what his team leaked to reporters. According to Politico, Trump's inner circle became concerned about his obsession with Rock's routine. One advisor told the outlet that Trump watched the entire special 3 times, each viewing triggering a new round of angry calls to staffers. He kept asking why nobody warned him this was coming, the source said. He wanted opposition research done on Rock immediately. The campaign actually assembled a document of potential attack lines against Rock, focusing on his divorce, past controversies, and ticket sales for his tour compared to Trump's rallies. They prepared graphics comparing Rock's social media followers to Trump's Truth Social account. One staffer described it as the most comprehensive response we've ever prepared for a comedian. What makes this reaction so fascinating is how it contradicts Trump's carefully crafted image as someone who doesn't care what critics say. For a man who constantly describes himself as tough and strong, his thin skin was on full display. As political analyst Amy Walter noted, when politicians overreact to comedians, it's usually because the jokes contain uncomfortable truths they can't easily dismiss. And that's why comedians might be the biggest threat to politicians like these. Rock didn't need policy papers or debate prep. He just needed a microphone and some truth. While serious journalists get dismissed as fake news, a comedian cracking jokes about the Harvard hillbilly and his rich friends gets through to people who'd normally change the channel during political talk. When Trump can't stop rage posting about a comedy routine, it tells you everything. He knows laughter is contagious and deadly to his campaign. Once voters start laughing at the absurdity of it all, the spell breaks. Watch what happens next. The more desperately Trump tries changing the subject, the more you'll know Rock hit the bullseye.